Well, hello, Dean. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. For
Awesome. Awesome.
right.
Everyone, we are so excited to have Dean Storr with us today for GLAAL, Go Live an Amazing Life. And I'm super excited to have a conversation with you, Dean. We were introduced through a mutual friend, and I had an opportunity to listen to some of your teachings, your coaching techniques with another event, but there's so much more to you than just a coach. So would you just share a little bit about what you do, and then we'll go into your GLAAL story.
Okay. Yeah. So I've been in business for almost 35 years, going towards 40. And I was raised in my dad's business when I was 8 years old. So I've been around business all my life. And right around 2006 or so, I decided to switch things up and began to use my mind and my brain instead of my back, because all of my businesses that I've had in the past has always been physical labor, like landscape maintenance and janitorial services and stuff like that. And then being in my dad's business, which was a bakery, that's very physical, late hours or early hours and that kind of stuff. And so I got certified by Bob Proctor in 2006 to become a life success consultant, where I turned out to be a coaching and pure life coaching. So I've been coaching for about 15 years now, and I coach individuals, I coach businesses, I have a business coaching and also a pure life coaching, which is really interesting. Yes, go ahead.
Well, and that's one of the, I'm so familiar with, personal and business coaching, but you label yourself, or you state that you're a peer coach. So elaborate on that a little bit more, because that's a terminology in coaching that I don't think we hear very often.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Peer life coaching is, just for instance, I had a client that I was working with who was a pretty top-notch real estate agent. And I was coaching her for quite a while. And then one day she came into our coaching session, and she sat down and she said, I think I'm an alcoholic. And pardon? You okay?
I lost you for just a second. So would you just repeat that last sentence?
I don't know.
Or just move on. Like I told you at the beginning, this is just a conversation, and technology is great when it works.
Right. Yeah. So, so if I go back to this lady who was a high powerful real estate person, and she came into one of my coaching sessions one day, and she sat down. I usually always ask, what do you want to talk about today? And she looked at me and she says, I think I'm an alcoholic. And so as she said that, instantly I go, okay, I understand, because I was an alcoholic. And there's nothing like being able to find a coach or a mentor or somebody that walks alongside of you that can relate to what you're going through. And so peer life coaching is now, like, if you lost a kid, I couldn't relate to you on that level, because, and thank God that I haven't, but I have 5 daughters and 8 grandkids, so they're still all alive, but I wouldn't be able to relate to you. I wouldn't be able to be your peer in that situation. And so drugs, alcohol, different things, things that stress, obstacles that stand in your way, self-image, how do you have a positive self-image, and all these kind of things. So there's nothing like having somebody, a coach or a mentor, walk alongside of you that has been there, and not just get the book out and let's turn to page 7 now. What do we do in this situation? But it's a real life situation. So peer life coaching is we become so equal and peer together to where we fit, because I've gone through what you've gone through.
I bet when she when you mentioned the fact that you too have been down the same path, I bet that was quite an almost an emotional experience for both of you. You probably noticed all kinds of body language shifting and a lightness about her. I can see that being very, very beneficial.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because in most people's lives, we feel alone, even though we can associate with people. We have parties this time of year, Christmas parties and stuff. But a lot of times inside, we feel inadequate. We feel a lack of confidence. We feel all these different things because maybe things that you've done in the past, or maybe things you're even doing right now. Like here, she was drinking. She was an alcoholic. She was a Greek, right? That was her. That growing up in where she grew up in her homeland, that was pretty common to have wine and bread and all that to even the kids.
Yeah.
In Germany, you go over to Germany, and alcohol is a pretty common thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So it was a relief, almost like she got something off her chest, and she was able to go and breathe.
Yes.
There's nothing like breathing.
Right. Right. Like the breath is so important. And when you can breathe into that even more relaxed state and that peaceful state. So, what a calling. And so kind of moving into your GLAAL story, and, it's go live an amazing life. And as I tell people, when you're living an amazing life, it certainly does not mean perfect. When you hear me say, Dean, what does it mean to you to go live an amazing life? What would your response be?
Yeah, I think number one is to really learn how to love myself, and to once I think you begin to get on that path and to really learn how to love yourself, despite all your flaws and imperfections and everything else, is so important because you step into your true nature. I think you step into your true person, who you are. See, we're not flesh and bones, right? Right. If you think about it, the way God created us, He created us out of the dust of the earth, and as He created us out of the dust of the earth, He blew into our nostrils life, the breath of life. So if you look up mind, which I deal a lot in the mind, if you look up mind in the Greek or the Hebrew, it literally means breath or air or spirit. And so the true essence of who we are is spirit. The true essence of who we are is breath, is this energy that goes out from us, right? And so for me to tap into my true authentic self, and then here's the thing that I love about my business and what I do is I'm able to help people move into a place that reveals their true nature. And when they get that, when they understand they can do whatever they want to do, and they can move. So how it makes me feel is to go live an amazing life, like you said, is like I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it right now. To be
Me
able
too. Like my feet are light as a feather.
And so it's wonderful to connect to people, to help them in that capacity. And so to me, that's being true to myself and who I am, and understand that I'm a mess. I'm a mess, and that's okay. Because love has a tendency to dissolve the conflicts in the mind, the conflicts in our heart, the conflicts with ourself growing up. I was a good parent, was I a bad parent? Did I do enough? On and on and on. And so to step away from that and move into your true authentic self is pure love, the spirit, the intellectual piece of you, right? Mind is when you touch things, like the Midas touch, if you will. When you touch things, there has a tendency to breathe life into them. So
That's wonderful. So you have, when you think of having an amazing life, that's really tapping into your authentic self, your calling, your purpose on why God brought you here, and then sharing it with others to help them do the same. And that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, and then I think that's the reason why I kind of got all tingly myself, as you said, goosebumps. And I always say that goosebumps are my indicator that I am in an authentic space with the person that I'm communicating with, or there's some sort of connection. So I love that. Now, you did say that you're a mess.
Yes, I am.
And I know a little bit about your background, and it hasn't been perfect. And so can you just share, you know, if you consider it your GLAAL story on your path and how you got to this place of tapping into that authentic self so you can share it with others, and kind of those ups and downs, a little bit about that from your childhood?
Yeah, I think growing up in a bakery, you know, 8 years old, washing pots and pans for my dad was, you know, all of a sudden we became somebody different. Our family was different than most kids, because most kids, they grow up with two parents working a job, and they get to be a kid. And I didn't get to be a kid in that respect, to where I started working. Like I said, they had to build a box to where I could stand on to wash the pots and pans in the sink. And the dough hooks were so big I couldn't lift them up. I'd have my brother once I washed them. And so anyway, I grew up, and my parents were just giving away what they had. So I don't blame my parents or my past or people in. They were just giving to me what they had. They can't give away something that they don't have. And so I grew up to where we would go to bed sometimes at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, because the bakery would close late. And I remember my teachers trying to wake me up in school, that I had my head down, and I was so deep in sleep that I had a pool of drool, if you will, on my dad had to wake me up by flipping my mattress off to where I could, you know, and so I grew up that coming against me right off the bat, as far as like feeling different from all the other kids around me. And as I grew older and went through school, I realized that I didn't learn like everybody else learned. And come to find out later in life, I had ADD, I had dyslexia, you know, I had all these different things that were fighting against me. And so as it became time to read and do mathematics and all those kind of things, I couldn't get it. I just couldn't get it. And so I got into drugs and alcohol at a very early age, because I hung around a group of kids that all of a sudden respected me for who I was, and didn't make me feel stupid. And so through that, I didn't know how to read very well. I mean, I had probably a third grade education, see Dick run, that kind of stuff, you know, grade school. And I graduated from high school that way. That was back in, you know, I was born in 1955, so I'm 67 today, or in January I'm going to be 67. And so I was born in 1955. So back then the school system was a little different than the way it is today. And so I had a really tough time. And so you take reading out of your ability to do things. Well, look at everything that you do. It requires mathematics and reading. And so it was really difficult for me to deal with that. And so that's even to this day, I have a hard time. But what's really cool is I have 3 books that I've published already, and I'm working on my 4th book.
I love that.
Isn't that cool?
It is. That is so
That's a
cool.
Yeah, that's a lot of story in between getting up to that place, but a lot of because anytime, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna, sorry to interrupt. I just was gonna ask, because when we had our initial phone conversation, you told me how you taught yourself how to read, and it's kind of an interesting way. So would you mind sharing that?
Yeah, not at all. what happened was when I was 24 years old, I was pretty burned out. I'd been doing drugs every day, alcohol every day, and not just smoking dope, but I was dealing with some pretty bad drugs. And and so through that, I didn't really know where I was going. I was just burned out. I was a hippie. I had long hair and rode motorcycle and hitchhiked across the United States and all that kind of stuff. And so I ended up in Flagstaff, Arizona. I'm going to keep this short because, like I said, there's a lot of story in between this stage where I'm at today. I rolled into Flagstaff, Arizona in a 47 Ford pickup with a homemade camper and a motorcycle in the back of the trailer. I was broke, had no money. The gal that I was living with, or she was living with in the trailer, we pawned some stuff off to get a hotel because we were out of gas and out of money and all that kind of stuff. And so through that, we were able to get showers and then go get some work for a couple of weeks, and then we just go on down the road. Well, there was a setup. God set me up. And I don't know if you've ever been set up by God, but I'll tell you what, God set me up that day. And as I walked into a lumber yard, I was going to get a job in a lumber yard and do an application. There was 5 Christians in the back, and the foreman was a Christian. And so as I came in to fill out an application, you could imagine what that application looked like. It was mostly scribbles, because if I didn't know how to spell something, I scribbled it. So out of that, I got the job, right? Well, they took this stack of applications to the back with the 5 other Christians and said, who do you think we should hire? Because we need to hire somebody. Well, they saw me coming in, long-haired guy, kind of holy jeans and the whole night, which is popular today. And so they watched me walking in. So they said, hire that long-haired guy. Because see, they wanted to convert me, right? Mm-hmm. And so I got a job there, and it was like, time out, man. I don't understand your language. I don't hang around you kind of guys. So don't tell me your testimonies about how this Jesus thingamajigger did whatever. And so out of that, I end up going to their church, and I ended up giving my life to Christ. And it was during the Jesus Freak movement, where there's lots of hippies and burnouts coming into Christ, and they were finding a new life. Well, out of that, I went to go read the Bible, because I didn't want to just have some man tell me what this Bible said. I wanted to know for myself. And so for first time in my life, all of a sudden I had this drive, and I had this passion, and I had this calling, if you will, that I wanted to find out. Because see, when I knelt my knee to Jesus, I quit drinking and drugging it instant. It was an instant thing. And it blew me out of the water so much. I was crying like a baby. If you look back in my past pictures, I was a tough looking kid, right? And so I didn't cry. Well, I was sobbing like a baby. And so I wanted to find out who this was. Not to get on my soapbox and talk about, preaching or anything like that. This was an encounter that I had with a spiritual being. And out of that, I wanted to find out. So I opened up the Bible to read it, and I just, the mature, I couldn't even pronounce mature. I didn't even know what the word mature meant. And so out of that drive, or out of that passion, like, get out of the way. I'm on a mission for the first time in my life, because you got to understand, I was stupid. I felt stupid. I was never going to amount to anything because of that. And so that was my self-image. And so it took a supernatural act to break through and tap into my real, true, authentic self in the spirit. And so as I went down to the Bible bookstore, I started looking. And as I looked, I found these comic book Bibles, right? And there was 3 volumes. There was 2 in the Old Testament and 1 in the New Testament. You opened them up. It wasn't like a kid's Bible, but you opened them up and they were like comic strips, right? Well, I could see Dick run and do that kind of reading. And so I was able to read this. And what I did was I began to devour it. I didn't realize what I was doing. I was teaching myself how to read. And so after I was done with those, I said to myself, I wonder if I could read a book. I mean, I was floored. Even even now, when I go back to this in my time, I can tear up real easy because I was so different than all of these kids. And I know they felt the same way. But as I got a book, at the time, now I'm married, and so this is months in the working. And so I told my wife, I says, I'm going to shut myself in this room. Do not bother me. And I might be in there for a couple hours. So I got me a book. I got a pen and a pad, and I started in a dictionary, and I opened it up, started in the first page, and every word I didn't understand, I underlined. And then what I'd do is I'd look it up in the dictionary, and I'd open it up and I'd see what the definition is so I could understand what that phrase or that paragraph was saying. And so I write it down in my pad and paper, and I wished I would have had all that stuff today, but it got lost in the mix. But what I did was I began to teach myself how to read, and today I'm an author of 3 books. I mean, it's pretty amazing. Yeah.
That is, you talk about, I mean, I've got some tears in the corners of my eyes, just because that is so powerful. And there are so many children. I can't, I understand when you were a child and the way that, some of the dyslexia and some of those, situations that kids deal with were not talked about, that we didn't know, and we don't know how to deal with them. And, quite frankly, if I could share with you that you spoke to my heart, because here I speak and I love to read and all of that. But when I was growing up, I didn't like to read aloud because I was afraid I would mess up on a word that I didn't know or I didn't understand the meaning of. And talk about not learning. And here's where we have, we can peer, is that I would count how many people were in the circle and count the paragraphs. And I would spend the time trying to read the paragraph so I wouldn't mess up. And it really would throw me for a loop when the teacher would ask the student next to me to read 2 paragraphs instead of 1. So I understand and can relate to the anxiety and the stress and the emotion around not being able to read, not to the extent of you. And I just absolutely love it that through God's love and spirit and showing up that day, there are no coincidences, that was the opening for you to go and just create this pathway for you to have 3 books, a thriving coaching session, and to be the father of 5 girls. Is that what you said?
Yeah, we have a blended family, me and my wife. We've been together forever. And so she has 3 daughters and I have 2 daughters. She has 5 granddaughters and I have 3 grandsons.
Wow.
So we've been together forever. So
that's just awesome. And there's all these, we're all given all these puzzle pieces, and we navigate, and you've just put this beautiful puzzle together for Dean Store in just such a wonderful way. And it's inspiring so much. Thank you. I mean, really and truly, you have opened my heart to, some of the emotions that I dealt with. And I know for a fact that there are others watching this that have a relatable story, whether it is a highly successful realtor that has this kind of dark side, and coming to you and having that ultimate release and relief that she can actually be her true self and can talk through that with you. And then for all, I hope young children watch this so they understand if they've got questions, or if they're like, Mom, I watched this, this story, and this guy was talking about not being able to read, and and maybe they will find the faith and courage and bravery to open themselves up to asking the question, I need help, or how can I get help? So, wow, I have to tell you, my stomach is just full of butterflies, and I just so appreciate you sharing that GLAAL story, because that is going out and living an amazing life. And you've chosen this path to continue that momentum that started so many years ago with long hair. I'd love to see a picture.
Yeah, I got a picture of an old faded Superman shirt, long hair, bandana, and my German Shepherd by my side.
Oh my gosh. Well, you
Yeah.
should send that to me and I'll put it in the post. So as we wrap up, and with great appreciation for that story, is there one piece of advice or tip that you could share with the audience about living an amazing life, or maybe taking the step towards, branching out and trying something new to improve themselves? What's the tip of the day, Dean?
Yeah, I think if if I could, and I share with this a lot as far as like tapping into your true authentic self is, I think, the first stepping stone that you could do. And so I ask people to, like, let me share with you. I asked you if there was a angelic, angel, spiritual being in the room, which there is,
Mhm.
in your room right there, how would you describe that being?
For me personally,
Yeah.
it has, over the last probably several years, it's a little girl.
Okay. It's a little girl. And so how do you feel in the presence of that little girl?
I feel joy. I feel young and light and playful. And, it's like we're best friends.
Yeah. And so how could you describe, what does that little girl look like?
But she has braids and she's in a frilly dress and she's got tennis shoes on, like, playful tennis shoes, and a beaded necklace. Like, she loves jewelry and to play. So,
Right.
yeah.
So is she bright? Is she like illuminated, or is she just a picture of a little girl?
She's well, her aura definitely glows,
Okay.
and brighter than other times. And sometimes she shows up in a more physical form, or possibly more of a mist
Okay.
type presence.
Yeah. And most people will share an angel, and they'll talk about the brightness or the light or this. They feel warm. They feel no judgment. On and on and on. They go on, kind of like what you were talking about. And so then I asked them, "Do you know who you were describing?" And who would you say that you were describing?
I'm describing myself, and
Yeah.
without going into my personal, but that's one of the reasons why I have
Ah,
her. This
yeah,
is me at like 17 months old.
yeah,
And just not to divert from your story, but it
yeah,
doesn't surprise me at all that I have a little girl that follows me around, because this little girl, I specifically blew her up as big as I could get it printed, just as a reminder every time I walk into the office to find and be with that joyful little girl again.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. So to me, that's the first step that they could take, is
Okay.
just take a moment to meditate and think about that spiritual being that is in the room and describe it, and then realize that what you're describing is yourself: warmth, energy, love, light, peace, joy, happiness. And as you really step into that, whether it's a little girl, a little boy, and as you step into that, that's the thing. I think it was Wayne Dyer, I can't remember who it was, said, let the spirit lead. No, maybe it was Donald Walsh, but let your spirit lead instead of your physical being lead. Let the spirit of who you truly are lead. And so that's when I think you can have this go live an amazing life, is now you tap into the resources that are supernatural, that are way beyond our understanding in the physical being.
Mhm.
So I think that's the first step.
Wonderful. So that's the first step, is really connecting with that spiritual being that is with us at all times. And then
Yeah.
from there, there's a lot of that opening up to other opportunities and noticing other things. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just to understand who you are as a spiritual being, you know, who you are as a spiritual being is your breath, your spirit. Yeah.
Fabulous. Fabulous, Dean. Thank
Yeah,
you so
good. Well,
much.
thank you for the platform. That, you
Oh,
know, what I've found in being on stage or doing an audience like this or having you ask questions, and I've been on several of these, is it's really about the presenter uh, and laying the platform to draw out, because not everybody is like this, is where you can really begin to draw out that true, because you understand the true authentic self in you. And so
hands
you bring
down.
it out in me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the law of attraction is real.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just knew the minute that you called me right away when we got connected that you were the perfect person to talk to today and to uplift others out there and inspire them to go live an amazing life and to embrace the good and the not so good and navigate through all of it. And we are never alone.
No.
We are never alone. And this is what, as we close, just remember that if you're someone watching this and you need assistance in any way, there are people like myself, Dean, others that have shared their GLAAL story. There are people out there that are willing and in a very loving way to listen to you, to assist you, to guide you. So you are never, ever, ever alone to start at whatever time or day to go live an amazing life. So Dean, share with us how we can access your book, because you have a new one out, correct?
Yeah, it's called Mind Shift.
Okay. Ooh, I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
that.
And then you can go to Amazon and just type in Dean Store. Make sure you get the R on the end, STORER,
Okay.
and then my books will pop up, and you can get an ebook or a regular book.
Fantastic. And then
Yeah.
your website is?
It's deanstorecoaching.com. So Dean Store, STORER, coaching.com.
Okay. And that's
And they
also,
can go,
go
yeah,
ahead.
they can go right to my tab on contact on the website, and that contact tab will take you right to my calendar, and I can do a 15-minute coaching discovery session with you.
Amazing.
Yeah,
That's
it's a lot of
amazing.
fun.
That's absolutely wonderful. And I have to say that I'm really excited because I'll get to meet you in person in February. Am I correct?
Yeah, become
Yes.
the best you can be. That's going to be an event that we're going to have that is going to, it is going to be absolutely powerful. The speakers that are going to be there are people like yourself and myself, and man, stories that are unbelievable, that are, if you want to break the chains, if you're really serious about taking the chains that hold you and bind you into a limited person, and you want those chains to break free, come to this event. You want to be there event. Be the best you can be.com. Look it up.
That's right. Come
Yeah.
change your
Yeah,
life. I think it's
fun.
comechangeyourlife.org. So all that
Okay,
information
yeah.
is going to be in the post. And
Yep.
Dean, I'll have your website in the video so people can't miss not connecting to you. I want to wish you so much love and joy today for and express my appreciation for participating in my GLAAL project. Go live an amazing life. And everyone out there, go share your love. Go on, Dean, come on.
There we go.
All right, well, you work on that for February because we're doing that when I talk. So
Okay.
Anyway, all right, everyone, have a blessed day. Go live an amazing life. Thanks, Dean.
All right, thank you.